Like the infamous countdown.
And we are live. Welcome,
hello,
everyone. Yes, welcome. FlexworkTv, episode number 2. Gang 2. So we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Periscope / Twitter. 5 instant viewers. What's up, everybody, to watching out here? We're gonna free will this impromptu live discussion, which is FlexworkTv episode 2, talking about Impostor Syndrome, talking about FlexCon that's coming up, and we're gonna just get a little frank discussion about some of my background in launching inclusion in regards to the marketplace, in regards to the community and everything. So stay tuned if you want to hear a little bit about what we have going on.
And we can't see all of your comments, but just comment at the bottom wherever you are. I say that we're global, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. That's the best thing that I can say, right? So speaking on FlexCon real quick, I'm really excited. May 17th from 3 to 7 Eastern PM. We have a great lineup of speakers. We're about to do promos for that. We're looking to serve 500 participants this time, maybe. So we'll see how that goes. And definitely just looking to spend time with everyone with what we have ready for you. So how do you feel about it?
I'm looking forward to it. So, FlexCon is something we're doing monthly. It's a digital conference for freelance and remote professionals. And of course, we want to evolve it into a job fair as well. So companies, if you're hiring talent, or if you just want to exhibit what you're doing out in the community, then sign up for as an exhibitor also.
Right. So getting into it, we kind of touched on imposter syndrome last time. So many of you out there do not know that Jabril is equivalent to the proper, and I have to say proper because once you deal with him, you know that he's proper, the proper version of Master P. What do I mean? He has done mixtapes. He has done cell phones. He's done a whole lot. And we've gotten into a discussion and we're like, how do we start having more content and having, like Jabril said, the honest truth conversations of stuff. So if you don't know, he became an entrepreneur at 16. He has been featured in Black Enterprise and a whole lot of other stuff. So Jabril, give us a 2-minute version of what you've been through and where you are now. And we can start the discussion there.
I started let's start at the beginning. So I started selling candy in high school. In middle school.
Okay.
The kids were buying, I was at a magnet school and the kids were buying pixie sticks from me.
Those were good back then.
Yeah, but I mean, to be frank, you're supposed to pour it in your mouth. Some of them was putting it in their nose for some reason or another, but we're not going to get into that.
It was a cool factor.
I used to fix bikes. I remember I had an old go-kart that I fixed up, sold it. And it's so amazing. I think back now at 13, putting that bike or that go-kart in the classified section of the newspaper, and some strange guy coming up to the house, and I coordinated that whole deal. I negotiated on the price and everything. And I'm just like, would I have let my 13-year-old allow for some strange guy to come to the house, and he basically ran the entire deal, negotiated the price with the person, presented that
right.
bike or that go-kart to the person. It's just crazy, but I was doing that, right? So yeah, that is like my first kind of real start into entrepreneurship. Other than the example that my father gave me, and he had a hats and t-shirt business. He'll go get hats and t-shirts monogrammed. I remember for Gafers, I remember being in the office at Gafers, and this Gafers was, I don't know, one of these department stores in Pensacola before it turned into something else. I don't know if it became Macy's or whatever, but I remember and them selling. He was in there selling that. He had of course, a landscaping business as well, hauling business. So he used to let me go, and sometimes he would let me bid on the project. He said, "What do you think?
Wow.
What do you think we should charge for this?" And I was pretty close, you know. What else? There's this black drink called Omar on the Now. It was called. It was watermelon. Yeah, Omar on the Now was distributed by a black bottling company out of Chicago, I think, and it was like a watermelon celery drink. It's like a V8.
Okay.
V8. That's what it was like. We used to go into the stores, into the different gas stations, trying to set up distribution within those gas stations and get the product placed in there. So we used to do that. He had actually a little classified business directory that he used to get business cards and sell slots, business card size slots. Business card size slots.
That is a tongue twister.
On an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper.
Right.
Stacks of those and place those in gas stations and different businesses. And I mean, with his attempt of setting up like a little paid business directory. So, you know, there was a lot of different entrepreneurial things that, you know, we used to do. My mom, she had an alteration business. I'm around here making masks.
Right. So before we even get on this call, he's like, I'm sewing. I'm like, wait, we just talked about something totally different.
Right.
Like, well, I've been making masks. And he not only made the mask, he found an awesome material to do it and a whole lot of other stuff. So it's like, now y'all see why I call him the proper Master P. So, and please clarify if you are or not taking mask orders, because I guarantee you, if you don't clarify that, you're going to be seeing orders flood your inbox.
I just ordered about 3 yards worth of neoprene fabric, which is a stretchy like fabric that you use in masks.
Okay.
And I may start taking mask orders, but we talked about today in the community. So in the inclusion community, Eb, she asked the question to the community, what is your side hustle? So sometimes your side hustle is your main hustle, but then it's not your side hustle anymore, you know? So, right. And so, but what is that hobby that supplements what you do around your passion and stuff? And so as of lately, because of coronavirus, I knew how to sew before because my mother was an alterationist, right. But I decided to try to sew some masks, and I kind of figured out that, hey, I kind of like to sew a little bit. I wouldn't do a whole suit and stuff like that, but sewing masks and creating masks is kind of cool, right? So, and I have to kind of just you have to sometimes rediscover your side hustle, right? It may get pushed down into the abyss, the darkness, to that void where you may have to pull it out sometimes, right?
Yeah, and not only that, I think COVID, Corona, whatever you want to call it, has been an eye opener for a lot of people. And you know, I just did discovery calls today, coaching calls today, and I'm talking like, why would you want to be just dependent on your 9 to 5? And we've been 9 to 5, we've been freelancers, so we've known all the spectrums. We're now business owners. And not to say that you're not supposed to be tied to a 9 to 5, but what do you have after that? You know, right. in most states, you're living in an at-will state, so your job can fire you at any given moment with no reason for whatever. You know, you can be sitting there, you can be the best employee, and if they decide to say, "Hey, I want to let you go," they have every right to do so. So, what is it that you have in you? I always say, "What's in your hands?" You know, if you're great at cooking, do you need to start saying that you're taking orders for plates? I mean, everybody needs to eat. Now, some people may be skeptical because they don't know how your house is with COVID and all this other stuff. But the whole point is, like, Jabril, he lived in a household where his mom sewed. So it's like, okay, a skill he picked up. What skills have you picked up over the years that you can say that you can turn that into? And I don't necessarily like to say side hustle because it always comes with this negative this negative thought or whatever association to it. But what can you do to turn your passion into money for you? Because you never know. Those masks can become $1 million company, and you've ran $1 million company. We're going to get into that in a minute, but you never know what can come out of that.
I used to, my cousin, I'm not going to say who, but
my cousin.
it's not bad, but she, you know, at this point when I had my wireless stores, and I think I only had one store at the time, and I was probably doing like 600,000 in sales a year, right? And so she was like, she basically explained, she's like, Jabril, you're a hustler, and I'm like, and I took it in a negative way. I'm like, no, I'm not a hustler. I'm a business owner. I'm a small business owner. I'm making money. And you know, I had to grow into the understanding that yes, I have a hustle mentality. I mean, that's exactly what it is. And the goal, though, is to transform that and to transition that mentality, still internalize it,
right?
But grow it to the point where it does become business. It can produce and generate revenue, right? And so I think that I've had times where it didn't transpire, but then I've had times when, yes, it has, you know, because it has been a great idea or a great service that I'm providing, right? So, you know, it took some time to grow beyond that. So I don't see personally, if you take being a hustler or having that hustle mentality as a negative, this is me saying, don't do that. Don't do it. Take it as a positive.
Yeah. So let's go into that, because you've been into politics. Again, you've had your mixtape, you sold mixtapes, you had your cell phone company. I mean, speaking as a person that has literally, I think you haven't done, have you opened up any restaurants?
No.
Have you thought about it?
No. When I was younger, one of my mother's ex-husband, he was in the restaurant business. Actually, my mother's current husband, he is in the restaurant business too. So I had to kind of think about that, and I'm like, have I considered that? They have a building down in Pensacola, and I was telling them that they don't know what to do with the building, or they're working to turn into a restaurant, and so that's why I had to kind of think of that. And so I am, you know, I've
tied to it. So
myself.
There isn't anything that you have not been tied to. So with that being said, and jumping right into the conversation, you have had some very successful moments, like literally where I'm pretty sure that if somebody was to look at your high school yearbook, you know, where you voted most likely to succeed, or, you know, whatever, because looking at your history, yes, there are articles out there on Black Enterprise and a whole lot of other stuff. If you was to Google Jabril, you'll see it. So it's not as if it's fluff information. Like, we can't fabricate this stuff. Talk about how it's been of being at the high level and then feeling as if, oh, you're not succeeding, because you discussed that, and I'm looking at you like, what do you mean? You know? So touch on that for a minute.
Even now, I feel like that I'm not doing enough. I mean, and it's, you know, it's always, I think that the imposter syndrome is it's a keeping up with the Joneses mentality. Mm-hmm. And it's, you're automatically always comparing yourself. And because of social media now, you get so much the accolades or the perceived accolades of people, you know, just thrown in your face on your feed. And it could be real, you know, and so they talk about that on Instagram, you know, people flashing money and so forth. But when you go to a LinkedIn, you know, LinkedIn is a professional environment, or you may go, depending on who you're following on Twitter,
right?
A lot of times that affects you, right? So my personality is that, okay, it actually drives me. Okay, I need to do more. But at the same time, that's always a balancing act between, you know, is it more so an issue with my, you know, a self-esteem issue, saying, hey, you know, I'm not good enough, or is it more so, what is it exactly, right? So it's just getting to the bottom of that. Yeah. So I've been at a high point where, you know, I had a company that was bringing in almost $1 million a month. $1 million a month, right? And that's crazy. You know, you're thinking about it now. It's really crazy.
Hello. For how many years?
Now, this is not, let's say this is not revenue. This is not net revenue.
Yeah, but I mean, still,
$1 million a month, right? And I still, at that point, I still didn't feel like I was doing enough. It's like it wasn't good enough, and I needed to do more. So now that I'm at a point right now where I'm not in that company, I'm doing, we're doing what we're doing with Incluzion right now. We're building that community and all, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I need to do more. I need to be better. And so, it's a balance. It's trying to figure that out.
Right. So the first question I asked you is, at what point in life did someone tell you that you weren't good enough or that you had to do better? Because when we start looking at the root of certain things, it's kind of like, so if you read Who's in Your Room, which is a great book that literally like tells you to dig underneath the rugs that you just swept stuff underneath there. But then if you look at, You're a Badass at Making Money, she even brings up the point of there is just deeply rooted things that we've been told as kids, like money doesn't grow on trees. So if we're told certain things like that, we grow up with these traits to be like, oh, I have to do this. But then it's like, who told you?
Right.
And if you didn't tell yourself, you had to hear it somewhere where it like lived in your brain and you've painted this whole picture, or you've written your movie script, and it's a movie script that's not even going to make it to the screens because it's all in your head. So where did you get that from?
That's the crazy part. I mean, my positive affirmations have always come from my parents. My dad, he was like, Jabril, you're going to be a doctor, an engineer. Because, like in elementary school, I was rated gifted and went through, the gifted program in middle school, made it into a magnet program in high school and so forth. And I don't know. That's a very good question. My mother never, both of my parents, always positive affirmation in regards to school and getting stuff done and, being responsible, taking care of family and so forth. So that's a very good question. And more so, it's always come out of fear of, I don't know. I've always had a fear of being broke, of being to the point of growing up or providing, not being able to provide a lifestyle that I didn't have for in my own childhood. So that can be part of it. But beyond that, though, I can't point to a single thing other than the fact that there's just an internal gear inside of me that says, okay, you gotta glow up, right? Gotta keep glowing up. So
it kind of hits two different things of, if we operate in fear, we get the fear results. Mm-hmm. And if we operate in, I'm scared, but I'm still moving, it's two different things. And I told someone today, it's like, if you operate in fear, what is it that you have to lose if you just say, I'm going to let go of that fear and keep moving? What we lose is, as stepping out of comfort zones and all that other stuff, is the control factor that we have, and then also the comfortability. So in fear, it may be with you, like you said, you had a fear of growing up being broke, but then at the same time, were there things that your fear has driven for you to be back in that place of keeping you in your own island, of making you feel as if you're not good enough. Right. And from that perspective, you need to really step back to say that you've succeeded, because you have the sword, you have the testimony to still teach people how to go from here, 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 and here. And we sometimes think that we have failed and it's not going to be the benefit of someone, but our failure is a teaching moment for someone else.
Right.
And even with inclusion, you have to see the growth in that. I mean, we talk about it every day, but we've tripled, now we've kind of quadrupled in 3 weeks looking at the numbers. So you've been there in different arenas in life, but you have to see that the pattern is that regardless of how many failures you have, you always have 10 more success moments to it. And when you really start getting down in the deep dive of why do you have that, I'm not good enough, I need to do better. Yes, it may be part of that fear of not wanting to be broke, but on the flip side, it's kind of hindering you because that same fear is what's driving you to be the imposter.
Right.
So I know I gave you a whole lot right there, but
woo, Look here, Ayana. Look here.
So everybody, please know that this was Jabril's idea. And I'm like, are you sure?
So yeah, we were talking about this.
Sure. Okay.
We were talking about this after the first FlexworkTv, and I was like, I could get on here and because I was explaining. So there was a point where after I was in the Black Enterprise magazine, and I mentioned about the fact that at one point I've had to file bankruptcy, right? Personal bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. And that's coming out of that business that was making a lot of money, and the revenue model quickly changed, couldn't mitigate the losses. And that was one of the ways that I was able to of course, reset. And so, the part of the conversation behind the scene conversation was whether or not, I should have disclosed that. And so I had a lady that called me. She found my number, she read the article, and she was going into, she had an educational camp that she would do as a teacher. And she was a teacher, she is maybe. And so she talked about how that camp was generating nearly as much income for her as her teaching job, and whether or not she should transition over. But she was also mentioning the fact that she had gone through similar financial obstacles, right? Bankruptcy and such. And she cried on the phone, like teared up and cried on the phone, talking to me, explaining that how much she how much she enjoyed being able to read someone else's story and relate to that, and relate directly to her story, right? So I think a lot of it is, and one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of put that out there is, and yes, part of this was my idea to be transparent, is because of the fact that, especially during a time like this, where so many people have lost jobs, it's important to be able to take the fluff away, to take the imagery, the glam away, to say that, we are real people out here. I'm a real person out here trying to make it work, trying to build something from nothing. Meeting great people like Eb and many of the other people that I've met along the way that we've brought into the team to grow our community. Yeah.
So with that, where do you see more of the need of transparency or transparent conversations, in the inclusion community, and even in just local communities as it is? Because to be honest, we're like, nah, I'm not going to do that because I don't want you in my business. Mm-hmm. But then when we look at it, when we look at the high rate of depression, when we look at the high rate of anxiety, I mean, I can only imagine how those numbers may have tripled or whatever, especially at a time like this, because it's like, before we had the routine of going to a 9-to-5 and putting on that face, putting on that fake face, like, oh, everything's cool, I'm at my 9-to-5. But now, no, you're stuck at home, literally dealing with yourself, and you may have family, you may have kids, right. And it's like, those people that had their escape moment driving to their 9-to-5 or whatever else no longer has that sanctuary, if that's what you want to call it. So speak on that, because there's an importance of now being transparent. And even as business owners, we have to be transparent to those people that we serve, because it's not always fluff. And sometimes we're like, oh, we can't do that as a business owner because people are going to think we're weak. I do it every single time I'm on the phone with one of my clients. Like, this is where I'm at right now. There are times where I'm like, I don't feel like I'm being a great parent, and I'm just going to be like, it is what it is, Right. But people are like, wait, what did you just say? You're supposed to be a coach. No, I'm being honest with where I'm at right now, because I can't effectively serve you if I can't be honest with where I'm at. And the funny thing is, I may say something like that, and if we're on a group coaching call, there's like 5 other people. Yep, I feel that way. I feel that way. And a lot of people think that they're on this island by themselves, when it's really, no, you're not alone. So discuss how important it is to you to really see more transparency in the networks that we flow in.
Well, I would say this time more than any other time that you'll probably have in your lives, in my life, this is the best time that you can be authentic. You can, or you could grow back into your own authentic nature, right? That means, I mean, just being real, being 100. Why? Because right now, I mean, you're watching, like I watched the show, I watched the little BET special where they had Regina Hall. They took the little clip from her and everything, and she was talking about her hair. But you looked at everybody was scruffy. Everybody, no haircuts, you know, basic dudes.
Everybody going gray.
Yeah, everybody going gray. I didn't know Puff was that gray, right?
I didn't know.
But you can see that the coronavirus has even brought out people's authentic nature and their appearance, right?
Yeah.
And so that's part of it. It's just being authentic with yourself. Even if right now during this time, even though, you know, stuff is opening back up, that has provided a reset for people in the fact that you don't have to put on, right? You don't have to put on for your city, for anything else. And so this is even me right now being just explaining this and explaining a little bit about myself, you know, trying to figure out how to broadcast that authenticity to a certain extent, right? My own authenticity.
Yeah.
And just not put on, just, you know, just explain some things. So, and another thing you talked about as far as managing, you know, in a household, I think community is important, right? Mm-hmm. So when you went to work, even though there's people that you didn't like at your job, there is many times, you know, in many dynamics, especially in a household, if it's a husband and wife, spouses, and so forth, you know, many spouses don't really know what each other do. You know, they don't know their roles. They don't know their real roles and jobs. I saw a tweet earlier, and the lady was like, I found out that my husband, all he does all day, he gets paid to be in a meeting to discuss another meeting. And then that next meeting is to discuss the meeting next week. And then they're having a meeting to discuss the last meeting. He just gets paid to be in meetings. Yeah. And so that's, you know, people don't, so because of that, a lot of times there isn't that connection around work, and you have to continue to, of course, find that community that's wrapped around even your work interests, right? And that may be, I think that's especially hard though for the freelancer and for the remote worker, especially the people that are in our inclusion community, right? Mm-hmm. So it is connecting. It is staying on top of those connections. It is reaching out through video, reaching out over the phone, talking to people, talking it out. I think that's the main thing, talking out your issues to someone, you know, and sometimes that spouse may not be the right person just because, you know, those issues may be work-related issues and they may not understand, but open that dialogue.
Right.
That's what I take. That's my take from that.
So what is your vision, even post-corona, post-COVID, what is your vision for inclusion? Because like we've really been, and I have to give everybody a high five in the Inclusion Online Network, because even if they're not responding to the group posts, I've been getting personal messages. So I have to say thank you for trusting us with whatever you're wanting to talk about, because you don't have to do that. But what are some aha moments that you've gotten from this time of Corona, COVID, whatever, of saying that this is what you know to do to make the community and the vision and mission of inclusion even more better than what you anticipated? Because we came into this, I'm pretty sure everybody came into this time period of life of, oh, it's going to blow over. We didn't expect for it to be this long. We didn't expect for it to be this chaotic. That's the word to use. So in the time of your reflections, when it came down to inclusion during this time, what have you been getting for that?
Well, there's been a lot of affirmation from the public in general. Mm-hmm. I think more so than before COVID, because there's this renewed focus in general on distributed teams, remote work, freelancing, and such, right? And so they see the value in the fact that it's like, oh crap, okay, we're in a situation now where we have to really create a path towards some way of not being that frontline individual, especially out here. And so post COVID, I don't know. So that's a whole nother debate. I'm the guy right now. I don't think that there's going to be a post COVID anytime soon. I think this is going to be an ongoing issue with being able to try to find a balance of being able to generate revenue in a virtual way, in a safe way, right? And I think that strengthens the value proposition of what we're doing with inclusion, especially when we are servicing Black and brown people, right? We're providing a pathway where companies can in a more fluid, a more succinct way connect with Black and brown people around jobs, right? And so I think that that's part of our focus right now, and that's what I feel positive about and excited about with what we're doing with inclusion.
Yeah, I don't see, like you, I don't see that the remnants of Corona, COVID, whatever you want to call it again, that is going to ease up anytime soon. And where I'm excited about everything for inclusion is the fact that we're not just the community that says, hey, let's come into this community and talk about coding or whatever else. I mean, we're literally looking at ways of, hey, how do we have coaching sessions, even if it is 15 minutes here and there, to say we're here for you. Being that soundboard to say that if you need to talk about something that's going on that is hindering you, again, to be the best version of you, taking away the title of remote work or freelance or whatever else, let's deal with that first. Because if you're not good as a person, you're not going to be able to flourish into your best you. So that's why it's like, do we need to do this? Do we need to do that? I mean, we're going to start rolling out lunch and learns. We're going to start doing more stuff outside of FlexCon. And as much work that we put into FlexCon, I had to step back and be like, wait, hold up. Are we ready for this? But then at the same time, we're being called to do it. It's demand right now. So we either keep it pushing and serve the community, or we fold and be like, nah, we're not going to be able to do this. But we knew what we were getting into. We knew what we were getting into when we were at 222. Now we're at 644. And it's like, by next week, we're going to be at 800. So it's like, going back to this conversation, how many people do we need for the team? How many people do we need for this? And even talking about that, because even sometimes as business owners, we're like, oh, I can do it by myself. I can do it by myself. Or we've been hurt to say, well, someone promised that they're going to do this and they didn't follow through. So let me just put that back on my shoulders and be the multiple worker, like multiplicity with Michael Keaton, and trying to duplicate yourself, and it's not working. But from the inclusion side, like, we're in there like, do you have the expertise to do this? If we need a graphic designer, who can do that? Somebody stepped up. We need a web designer. Who can do that? So we're kind of promoting within. We're taking the concept from corporate America, so to speak, and promoting within, which is awesome. But we know that there's more people out there that are like, excuse me, that are like, I need something like inclusion and I don't know where to start. Just start by going to inclusion.co/community. And then when you get there, you'll be greeted by this little bot. It's going to say, hey, it'll send you a picture. And the moment you get into that community, one of us is going to jump in and greet you. One of us are going to say, hey, can you take the survey? And we have a short survey out there on purpose. We want to know what the people need, not what we think they need. Because we can give y'all tuna fish sandwiches all day, every day, and not know that you're allergic to tuna fish. But we're forcing tuna fish down your throat and you're literally dying because you know how I am.
Right.
We're killing you because we're not giving you what you need. We're giving you what we think we want or what we think you want. So I have to say that the Inclusion Network, again, is one of those things. And y'all may say this is a shameless plug, but for any freelancer, remote worker, small business owner that is looking for a great network to deal with the imposter syndrome, to talk about purpose. I threw a question out there about purpose and values the other day, and I got some private messages, but we didn't get any public answers.
Right.
And I know why. And not putting anyone down, but I know why. So because I know why, it's then taking that step further to say, what am I gifted in purpose to do, to pull that out of people, to not be afraid to answer the question of, what do you think your purpose is, or do you know your core values?
I'm going to tell a story real quick. I had a guy that that reached out to me on, I don't know what happened, but
I think he froze. Let me send him a chat real quick. And it's always when things are getting good that technology just wants to freeze at any given moment. So with that being said, until Jabril comes back, we can definitely be in a place of really, really, really saying, hey, I need the network. I need to be a part of something. And that's great. You can easily say that it's one of those things of you may not know where to start. Even if you're just now becoming a freelancer, even if you're just now starting a business, we are there. If there's questions that you're afraid to ask openly in the community, just shoot us a message. And as I said, we can't see, well, I can't see the live comments right now or anything else, but really being in a place of just starting somewhere. And you don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to know your next steps or whatever else. That's the best way of getting started, of not knowing anything at all. So if you have any questions, you can email me personally at eb@incluzion.co. You can email Jabril at incluzion.co. Of course, definitely we're on Instagram, not Facebook, but we are on Twitter, but we primarily live on Twitter and on Instagram, but we're definitely in the community every single day. I'm in there at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, first thing when I get up. So just make sure that we're not missing anything from you guys. So with that being said, you have an open invite regardless of where you are. And even if you don't have a title attached to your name, but you want to start somewhere, just go ahead and let us know and we'll get you started. So I'm going to close out the second episode of FlexworkTv. Again, we do have FlexCon coming up on May 17th. We will be putting that info out there. We are looking for speakers for future events. So if you are a speaker and you have some quality content, there's Jabril. See, we always say that whenever it's going to be good, something happens.
Oh boy, I was like, what?
I'm not closing out. Jabril came back.
All right, can I finish my story?
Yeah, you need
maybe that was a sign that I shouldn't tell this story. Maybe that's what it was.
I mean, are they going to help somebody?
I'm going to test the universe anyway. Test the universe anyway.
We're testing today.
All right, so my story was, and it was more so going back to, understanding your passion, right? And this was something, so the gentleman reached out to me. He actually invested in our crowdfunding campaign. He sent me a message basically kind of cursing me out.
Why?
Saying that I was, a charlatan, I was inauthentic and so forth, because he sent me a LinkedIn request. And I don't know what happened, but I ended up denying the LinkedIn request. Mm-hmm. And that really bothered me. It bothered me. And he actually blocked me on all social media, so I couldn't even respond. I found his email address because he invested, and I sent him a message and I apologized, right? And I talked about the fact that I said, one of the things I want to tell you in this apology is that this is my mission. This is my passion. And building this ecosystem around remote and flexible work and providing economic empowerment for these diverse freelancers out here, right? So you was talking about just finding your purpose and being able to do that, right? And that was my segue into that explanation, is that everyone out here has a purpose, and my purpose, I'm finding and I'm understanding my own purpose is not around just being some super wealthy, successful tech entrepreneur. It's providing a conduit for other people to find their own purpose as well through work, right? And That's the story I just wanted to tell.
See, but it needed to be said. So it's really one of those things of, and you made a great point that yes, he is an investor, but it's still one of those things of going back and closing that gap of what misunderstanding did you have just because I didn't do X, Y, Z.
Right.
Now, you already know me. If you would want that to me, I would like, well, you know, depending on how much he invested, do we really want to put up with the headache? You already know me. Like, there is no way that we're going to attach ourselves to anything that is going to be a hindrance because you feel that we didn't accept your invite.
Right.
When, in all honesty, all communication that has gone out has been join us in this community and do this and do that, because there's going to be a time, and I tell you this all the time, that you're just not going to be accessible. And as a business owner, we sometimes have to put ourselves in that place, even as freelancers. If you work for a specific company and you know you have your boundaries in place, something that we just muddy all the time because we want to please everybody. No, we cannot please everybody. Right. And still having those boundaries in place, that goes back to the values. You cannot say that you are working with someone and they don't value you. You can't say that you're working with someone and they're totally disrespecting you. It's not going to work. And even when it comes to money, it may have been, and I tell people this all the time, if you offer me $1 million, but I feel that if I feel that I have to sacrifice my peace, my sanity, and compromise everything that I stand for, I'm going to have to turn it down. And even with you, that's even more of a testament to say that you have been able to raise, because I didn't have any part in the fundraising campaign. I'm just going to be honest. But you raised a good amount of money.
Right. Yeah.
A good amount of money. So, and you know, if the guy is watching, forgive me, but it's going to have to be one of those things of, if we need to have a personal chat, I have no problem. But you cannot get bent out of shape over social media. I can understand if we had members saying, oh, Jabril is this and Eb is this and they're not doing this. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a invite on LinkedIn.
Well, you know, stuff like that I take as I took it as the moral of that story for me personally, because anything that happens, good or bad, when I get constructive criticism, and even if it's harsh and it pisses me off in that initial couple of seconds, I think I take a step back and say, okay, there may be some credence to that. Let's pick that one piece of good out, or that positive out of that. And it was more of a reaffirmation in the fact that, you know, that initial criticism of the fact that, you know, my passion was inauthentic. It allowed me to double down on that. It allowed me to reanalyze why that passion is in place. And it allowed me to articulate it in that email to that person, and you know, and it fixed it. You know, he was like, "Oh,
so he good."
Yeah, he was good.
Oh, high five!
Right,
right.
So it cleared it up, and so it definitely did. It cleared up and everything, and everything's good now. But
it leads into as well of understanding the communication style of other people and what the expectations are. And I think once we start letting down the expectations of others, we can start focusing on self more. I don't know if the dude was having a bad day. I don't know if he needed a hug, if he lost his puppy, whatever. But yeah, I would kind of step back, but then I'd be like, nah, is the headache worth it? But as long as you rectify the situation, or you've come to a common ground of understanding, that's great. But one thing that we're also teaching everyone in the community is learn your communication style, learn what you're tolerable of, you know, learn you, because only you know what you are. But then as you learn yourself, you then build up your emotional IQ for your customers. Mm-hmm. And without that, we're not going to be successful in any type of relationship, whether if it's personal or business.
Right.
So that's my 2 cents for the day. I'm way excited about FlexCon. What else did you want to talk about?
Look, yeah, and I don't know what you talked about when I dropped off, but I will reiterate one more time. FlexCon is on May the 17th. This format here, if you are a freelancer, remote worker, someone who wants to put themselves out there on a few different platforms and get that visibility, that's something that's going to be saved online, talking about yourself and talking about your skills, I invite you to sign up for the talent pitch. We have a talent pitch that happens. We actually are having our first one after this call here. And so you'll see me again in an hour or so. And I'm going to have a 15-minute, a much shorter, just frank conversation with that person, talking about their talents, talking about their skill sets, talking about what drives them, and what type of company they want to work for, what type of client they're looking for, right? So I invite you to sign up for that as well. You'll find information in regards to that on inclusion.com.
Yes. So I'm excited. If anybody wants to have a conversation with us, I'm all for it. I don't know how many people we can have at one time, but this may lead to something else. And again, anything that we put out there is not to put you down or to make you feel bad. We are wanting to address these things head on so you can just break free and be the best version of you, to have fun. Like, I literally told myself the other day, I'm not a business owner just to make ends meet. I could have went back to a 9-to-5 and still, whatever else. And again, not knocking anybody that's working a 9-to-5, but if you're going to work a 9-to-5, be the best version of you and know what your worth is. So, when they try to give you the okie doke, you like, nah, I'm worth more than this, because guaranteed you're needed. As much as we worked in corporate America, we knew where we was needed. Walked away from it, but where you're needed, and you know how to demand in a positive, proper way of what you're worth. And this is what we want to help you do.
Look, I don't think I could have said it even better, any better at all. So
yes, so I'm excited.
Fun. I don't think I got to tell everything.
No, this is going to be like a mini series.
I think that there was some good points that that I was able to be transparent about. And I think that these type of coaching sessions like this, because you are a coach.
I am.
You're very good at it, right? I think this is needed. And so, Eb, how can people get in touch with you if they want a private coaching session?
So you can go to purposeeverything.com and it'll give you the links for a discovery session. Discovery sessions are 30 minutes, but we get a whole lot into that, and you decide how you want to move forward. I'm on social media under Purpose Everything for Instagram and Facebook. So with that, even still, if you're watching this after the fact, just drop your comments below and we'll keep checking them. You can always, again, like I was saying while Jabril was coming back live, that you can always catch us in the community. Even though I have my own company, I am still serving people under Inclusion. So my email address is eb@inclusion.co. Jabril is jabril@inclusion.co. And, not trying to be funny when I say this, just give us some time to answer your email. Do not get offended if, there may be a time where we may be in the middle of FlexCon and we can't answer your emails right then and there, but we will get back to you. So, just making a joke of it, but it's real talk.
This has been fun.
Yes.
This has been very therapeutic on my end in many ways. And I'm an open book. I don't think that, one thing real quick, when people have asked me about the fact that, they have a business idea and they trust me that I'm not going to take it and steal it. And they'll talk about their idea. I don't think anybody out there should be scared of, what they know,
right?
Keeping it a secret. Talk to people, because sometimes those people that you're talking to, they could be your best ambassadors, evangelists, and so forth, right? So I do the same thing. So that has created a level of transparency in myself, to the point where it's like, hey, I'm not giving out all the secrets. No bank account passwords, none of that stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it's as far as just information about myself, about the things that I've gone through. Even now, after this, if you've seen this and you want to follow up and slide in the DMs, ask me a question. So
slide in the DMs about business. We're going to clarify that.
In the context, yes.
Yes, about business.
So thanks everyone for watching.
Yes.
I'm Jabril.
Have a good one. I'm Eb, and let us know what else you want us to talk about. We're here for you.